Hello, I'm Jeremy Langdon, a sophomore adolescent education major from Pace University. Welcome to the digital remix of the Adolescent Theory of Mind, researched by yours truly. Before we begin, allow me to tell you a little bit about myself so we can get some context as to why I chose this research topic. Shall we begin? As a writer, the thing I value the most in writing is creativity. Giving a writer a chance to let their voice be heard the way they want it to be heard allows them to entertain and educate their readers, rather than to have them drool on their keyboards because they're bored. However, in my experience, academic writing has been opposed to such a notion. More often than not, I find myself being told to not use the first person in essays, to only use facts, never mention opinions, to be bland and not write the way you talk, essentially making me, and I'm sure many others, feel trapped like this poor guy here. To be honest, it wasn't until my second semester of freshman year at Pace where I thought my creative voice really mattered in a classroom setting. Speaking of the classroom setting, I believe there will be plenty of room for creativity to take place in my future field. But Jeremy, you're teaching history, not English. How will you do it? Well, I currently don't have much experience with genres of the field of education, like lesson plans and assignment outlines, from a teacher's perspective at least. However, we've all been on the student side. So arguably there are ways to incorporate creativity into learning. Projects, presentations, and lesson plans that don't make me teach, like the history teacher from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Bueller. Besides, how couldn't I make things interesting when I'm teaching something I'm passionate about? History has been one of my favorite subjects since I was a kid. And I think it's one of the most important. It's more than just studying the lives and times of dead people, at least to me. It's learning from the past so we can create a better future. And in my opinion, the best way to learn about history is to understand multiple perspectives. Which brings us to my research. I was curious as to how adolescents, the age group I plan to teach, come to understand the differing opinions they hear from their peers in a public setting. I first looked at what was already researched, one of the most recognized theories in the field of cognitive development, and the theory for which my research is named after, is Jean Piaget's theory of mind. According to this man, people start to become aware and empathetic to the perspectives of others during childhood, particularly between the ages of 2 and 7. Other studies I researched state that social cognition, one's ability to understand and empathize with other points of view, continues to improve with age, and can be improved outside of a classroom setting. Activities such as acting and even interacting with people on the internet helps teens increase their perspective-taking abilities. While these sources answered some of my questions about my research topic, I was still curious. So I figured it would be beneficial if I went out into my future field and studied this myself. To do so, I turned toward the classroom setting and interviewed 2 of my previous history teachers from my old high school, as well as observed some of their classes. For participant 1, the interview went on for nearly 50 minutes, and I studied 2 of his classes, a 12th grade government class and a 9th grade Regents Global History class. For participant 2, I interviewed him for about 12 minutes and observed his 9th grade Honors Global History class. After completing these field studies, I emerged with 3 core themes: respect and understand what is being said, discussion should be teacher-started, student-driven, and passion plus will equals more conversation. Respecting and understanding the opposing argument speaks to a person's willingness to learn through listening to what the other side believes. According to participant 2, the whole purpose of debating and discussing issues isn't so much about changing a person's mind, but to get a better understanding of the other side. And if someone is willing to respect another person's opinions, they'll be more likely to continue discussing those opinions. The theme of teacher-started, student-driven conversations refers to the concept that adolescents, particularly in the classroom, need a starting point for discussing and debating their opinions on certain issues. Participant 1 even suggested that it's beneficial for teachers to start and facilitate the discussion, and the best way to do so is by playing devil's advocate. Finally, the theme of passion plus will equals more conversation, meaning by causing students to care about the topic being discussed, they will be more likely to carry on the debate. The best way to do this, according to my interview participants, is to make the topics personal. By relating these topics to the world today, what's going on in the news or pop culture, they will be more comfortable or be driven enough to share their perspectives and continue the discussion. These themes imply 2 main things about my research question that can be summed up into one statement. It's entirely up to the adolescent. Just as Jean Piaget says in his theory of mind, it's entirely up to the person to understand what is being said and to accept that person's perspective. To be honest, I never thought it would be so black and white. I thought there would be particular reasons as to why people accept some opinions and not others. Do I feel there were some flaws to my research? Yes. I probably could have taken a look at how this applies outside of a classroom setting, or in other areas of study like English. Despite these hindsights, however, I am content with what I have found. In studying social cognition in adolescence, I have arguably become a better researcher. In writing this paper, I have become a stronger writer. And most importantly, I have gained an improved sense of why it's so important to understand the other side.